All right, welcome back to the Amato Report. As you know, the U.S.-UK relationship looks like it has some cracks in it, some holes in it that came under pressure over the Iran war. Joining me at this time is Clair. She's the former Trump campaign foreign policy advisor. She's a self-described America First foreign policy expert, also a college professor. Sierra, good to have you with us.
Great to be here. Thank you.
So what's going on with the relationship between the U.S. and UK? You've recently written an article at townhall.com, and you said that this is simply Iran is simply only the latest in the problem.
Well, that's exactly right, Rick. And that's what I wanted to emphasize in the article is we've heard it a lot in the news recently about, should we stop sharing intelligence with them? Is the relationship over? And so what I wanted people to kind of understand is that this is actually a long time building, especially with this Labor government. Starmer has not been good for the U.S. relationship. And the people, the actual British people, I think, are very concerned about losing a U.S. allyship. They may not be all fans of Trump, or they may not even be all fans of America, but the people are aware that their security and their economy depends greatly on having a good relationship with the U.S. And so seeing this relationship fracture during the Iran crisis is really starting to panic, especially, I would say, the British citizens.
So that's interesting. The common person on Main Street in Britain seems to be more concerned about than the British leadership does.
Absolutely. Yeah. This leadership has been really irresponsible with British security. You look at what happened with Diego Garcia is a great example. And we saw Trump kind of tweeting about that deal and talking about why it was bad. It's a client state of China that the British government is now going to be leasing this island, Diego Garcia, from. And so you can imagine there's all kinds of problems with that, given that's a key military base for both the US and the UK. And then what we're seeing happen now with Iran is, the UK. First, they said we can't use their bases, just as the naval armada was arrived off the coast of Iran. Before we even were in a conflict. They said we can't use their bases at all. Then they said they would only, after we started the conflict and did a lot of success without them, they said that we could only use their bases for defensive purposes. After that announcement happened, you saw actually Bahrain get hit, and UK citizens are there. Bahrain has a very strong security relationship as well with the UK, and the government has not changed their stance on it at all. Now several days after that happened, they are sending a warship, but they had several chances throughout the buildup of this conflict to protect UK citizens in the Gulf countries and to work with the U.S. as an ally and, really be brought in onto this mission so that their bases and their people wouldn't be surprised. And they actually refused to do that, and people did get hurt because of it.
And Sierra, I initially thought UK made that statement to the US, you can't use these naval bases because they were trying to ratchet down any attack from Iran. But as I listen to you, it may be more of a philosophical thing by the British leadership. What's your take?
Well, I mean, I think there is a concern, and I was speaking to someone in the UK recently who described there's been 20 attacks already since this Iran conflict has broken out in London by Islamic, you know, terrorists and different groups and things targeting Iranian dissidents as well as the Jewish community there. So they do have a concern, just like we do, of terrorism in their homeland, and they have a higher concern than we do, arguably. But I agree with what you just said, is that this is a philosophical difference between the Labor government and Trump. They are all about just being anti-Trump. And we've seen that from our own left and our own media, where they take these horrible stances that are just 90-10 issues, and they just want to be against Trump. And unfortunately, that's what the UK Labour government's doing as well.
How do you think this plays out? As you've pointed out, we've seen UK leadership sort of backpedal a little bit, backpedal. Uh, as this war appears to be increasing in its success for U.S. and Israel, as it appears to be going in the right direction in terms of Iran faltering. We don't know if that's going to happen completely. What's your take on how the leadership will likely communicate with the Trump administration?
Well, as you said, I think we're seeing them backpedal. They've started to realize that this is, a threat to their citizens abroad, a threat to their other security relationships with those Gulf countries. And so they've talked now about sending some warships to the area. So I do, for the sake of everyone involved, I hope that the cooperation continues through this conflict, and the intelligence sharing and all of that special relationship that we've had going with them, continues for now, because that would just be the best way to keep everyone safe. And I think that you're seeing the PM Starmer is on board with that, just due to pressures from all of these different angles. But, going forward, Trump said we will never forget this. And so I do think that there are questions about this relationship going forward. And the British people have a referendum coming up, I believe. So they may be looking themselves for a change in government, and that may be a good time to reset the US UK relationship. But we'll have to see how all of that plays out. But I think with this current Labour government and Trump, it's going to be really hard to come back from.
Well, yeah, you're right. Trump did say he will not forget this. Sierra, it's an important topic with such a lifelong ally. When I say lifelong, I mean lifelong is the length of the life of the U.S. government, U.S. nation. Uh,
Yes.
it's amazing. Any final comments, Sierra?
I would just say, as I opened up with, I think the British people really do value this relationship. And that's something for us to keep in mind as Americans, as we're considering our participation in NATO, our deals with the UK, everything like that. It is worth salvaging. And it's just about being strategic in this moment and figuring out how to best navigate this really unfortunate government that they have for themselves over there right now.
The irony is that it sounds a lot like you could be talking about the Iranian government. Now, of course, there's no comparison, but it's the people in the streets that want us there, and the government that doesn't want us there in Iran. And as you said, the leader in the UK does not share the values of the people in the streets.
Absolutely.
Sierra Clair, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Back with more after this.